This is SportSpace.
Making this live. Sorry to interrupt. Our teacher, Mr. Harper, has won an award. Welcome back to Sports Space. That's our brand new intro that we have created over the break. And it's episode 7 of Sports Space this year. It's our first of this semester. And I'm joined by my co-host, Ben Riches. Ben, how you doing today?
Doing great, man. I'm excited to be back. It's been a few weeks in the making, but we're back at it again.
And so we have a lot of things, not a surprise really, but we've been working on a lot of things behind the scenes to kind of enhance the show. You know, you saw that intro there. I think a lot better than the countdown that we have had past couple months. And then we have a couple other things that we're working on in class. And we've also today created a Twitter account and a YouTube account for the show. Both are at SportSpace Pod. And there we'll be posting clips, takes, and full shows. And I'm really excited for the rest of the semester.
Absolutely. We're going to be able to really hit the ground running starting here in late January and get more exposure on different various platforms for sure.
And so, we've missed a really large chunk of time. Last show was well over a month, almost 2 months ago. And so, Ben, what have we missed?
Well, there's been a lot, across the board in sports. But first, your biggest story this season in college football has come to a close. And the Indiana Hoosiers are national champions for the first time in program history. Yeah, if you've been living under a rock, Curt Cignetti in his second season, Fernando Mendoza, that incredible wide receiver core, their defense, that whole, special Hoosier squad has now won their first national championship.
Just an incredible season by Curt Cignetti and the Hoosiers. Absolutely. I mean, they were just dominant. Mm-hmm. I mean, we saw that against, in their game against Alabama, that they were just better in all three facets of the game, mm-hmm. that they were perfect on offense, suffocating on defense, and then the special teams did what they had to do. And I think Miami played them the best out of any team this season.
Right.
Ohio
Miami
State
looked deserving of being in the title.
I mean, Penn State played them pretty good, but Miami really, really looked like they belonged inside the playoff. Miami really, I thought Indiana controlled that game, but I was really surprised that Miami was able to hold on that long. But I thought they were going to go down there and win it.
It was really, really close for Miami. And they were the first team, from my perspective, that seemed like they were able to make Fernando Mendoza really uncomfortable.
I mean, he had that pass rush with Ruben Bain and I mean, all those edge rushers that Miami has at their disposal. I mean, they just pulled, went down, rushed the edge, and got to Fernando Mendoza, got him uncomfortable. And I mean, they really gave them a shot to win. The offense, really both offenses, especially Miami's, was just poor in the first half of the game. And just for Miami to be able to overcome that and have a shot to go down the field that late was incredibly impressive.
Absolutely. And I don't think anybody really expected Miami to make it all the way there going into the season and certainly going into the playoffs. I think they were, heavy underdogs against Texas A&M even. They were underdogs every step of the way. They beat A&M, they beat Ohio State, and then eventually they get to that championship game and fall only 6 points short. It's really a season to hang your hat on for Mario Cristobal and his Hurricanes with young players that they can, try and reload. Obviously, they're not going to have Carson back, as he's...
Well, they're about to have Darian Mensah. Right. Who arguably might be more dynamic.
Yeah, exactly.
He could arguably be as dynamic as Cam Ward. I'm not saying he's going to win the Heisman, but he's that kind of player with his legs and with the arm.
Right, the former Tulane, former Duke quarterback who's now heading down to South Beach.
And moving on, just to touch on it, controversy in Tuscaloosa. Charles Bediako, former Alabama center, former G League center, sued the NCAA a couple weeks ago to get eligibility to return. They said no. Tuscaloosa judge James Roberts granted him a temporary restraining order, allowing him to play in Alabama's loss against Tennessee.
Right.
The NCAA's attorney was not able to make it to the injunction hearing this Tuesday, allowing Bediako and giving Bediako another 10-day temporary restraining order extension and allowing him to play in Alabama's win against Missouri in their upcoming game against Florida, I believe. And is one
somewhere.
more? And the game against Texas
Missouri,
in the midweek
right.
against Texas A&M next week. And extremely controversial around college basketball. Right. You know, people are very understandably not happy with, you know, how the college basketball landscape, sports landscape in general is shaping out. And listen, do I think not Fernando Mendoza, Charles Bediako, do I think he should be able to play right now? No,
definitely not.
By the rules and by the precedent that the NCAA has set themselves, they have set up a very strong, compelling legal argument for Charles Bediako to sue his way back into eligibility.
Has absolutely made their bed and slept in it with this one.
And so I don't think the NCAA has a right to complain. I don't think the college athletics administration, whether it's, you know, the conference administrations or the programs themselves, or the NCAA as a governing body, which they're not really even a governing body anymore.
Not too much. And you know,
but they have allowed this to happen, and they have created a scenario where this can happen.
Right.
And so why am I supposed to feel sorry about it when they're doing it? I mean, like they're playing by the rules.
Yes, they're exploiting the rules.
But the rules are in place.
You're right. And you know, this is maybe not the maybe the first example of a player you know, coming back after spending 3 seasons in the NBA G League. Just for some context, for those who don't know, Bediako spent 3 years in the G League with the Spurs. And now he's come back, but I don't expect this to be the last time that we're going to see something like this, especially with how many players go one and done, play their freshman years, and then head on to the NBA. There are going to be players coming back saying, no, I have this many years of college eligibility, and then suing the NCAA and being allowed to come back and return.
And I mean, the NCAA kind of created this precedent by granting James Nagy, a former 31st overall pick in the 2023 NBA draft, same draft class as Charles Bediako. He never played college ball. He internationally played for, I think, FC Barcelona, but not their top flight team. And declared for the draft, got selected, and then got traded. He never signed a contract, never played an NBA game, but he ended up playing top flight EuroLeague basketball with Barcelona.
Right.
And he was selected and he was traded, and people, you know, and the only difference between him and Charles Bediako is that Charles Bediako played college ball already. And that Charles Bediako signed a contract, but he didn't sign an NBA contract. He never appeared in an NBA game. He signed a 2-way contract, and he was with the Spurs, and he was waived before the season began.
Right.
And the NCAA just allowed this to happen.
Yeah.
And is it hurting college athletics? Is it damaging the sport? You know, yes, but this has been happening for the last half decade.
Right.
And so,
it keeps getting worse.
And each event in the last half decade has led to this.
There's been so much outrage after every individual event that, you know, a decade ago, it would have been outrageous to have a player transfer and play the next season in college football. And so it's going to keep getting worse until the NCAA implements meaningful reform and actually starts regulating these transfers and, you know, eligibility rules and so on, or else it's going to keep getting worse and things are going to keep getting more severe.
And but that's a whole nother conversation. We have a limited time, so we're going to continue to move on, and we're going to discuss the NFL coaching cycle. Just an absurd coaching cycle. Absolutely. With maybe not the talented crop of rising coordinators and rising head coaches.
Right. As we recently,
but there's been an influx of talented head coaches that have been experienced head coaches.
Right.
And so you see with
it's 10 teams. I was going to say 10 teams have fired their coach last season or in this offseason. 7 in the AFC, 3 in the NFC, and all but 2 of those teams have already found their next guy. And we're sitting here still in January. And all of these coaches, I believe, were appointed after the season was already over. And it's just been really quick. A lot of these teams finding their next guy. A team that I really like to look at is the Bills, who fired Sean McDermott completely out of nowhere. A pretty crazy decision. They just thought they couldn't really take the next step under McDermott. And at least from my perspective, it seemed like they were gunning for former Ravens head coach John Harbaugh. And then when Harbaugh decided to, as you see here, go to the New York Giants, then the Bills started floundering. They started interviewing coaches like Brian Daboll. They interviewed Phillip Rivers, who was playing in the NFL last season, before eventually deciding on promoting their OC, Joe Brady. So it just shows there's a really limited pool of top level experienced coaching talent. Obviously, John Harbaugh is at the top of that list, but he's in New York now. And so as you look down the list, it's like some of these hires feel a bit questionable.
I mean,
but he doesn't have experience as a head coach.
I know.
Yeah.
Okay, but that's what I mean. It's a lot of these hires they don't have. I mean, they don't have maybe as much experience as you would want.
Right, and Hafley's a rising star. I mean, I've seen him in Green Bay. He's been fantastic. If you just watch his press conference, he sounds like a head coach. Every day he does a press conference, so that makes sense. But these coaches with experience, you have Harbaugh, Kevin Stefanski in Atlanta, who had a rocky tenure with Cleveland.
I think it's a great hire for Atlanta.
Yeah. I don't think it's a bad hire, but I think
it's exactly that's what they need. They need someone to steady the ship in that building.
Right. That's reasonable. And then Robert Saleh, who had that obviously rough tenure with the Jets, he's in Tennessee. And then Mike McCarthy, of course, legendary Packers and Cowboys head coach. He's in Pittsburgh, going back home. That seems like a slam dunk hire for the Steelers.
I am personally confused about the Bills hiring Joe Brady.
Right.
I think if you wanted to move on from Sean McDermott, you wanted a clean slate. You realize with Sean McDermott that you're not going to get to where you want to be.
Which I don't agree with. I don't
necessarily disagree. I don't necessarily agree. I think the problem lied more with the general management and the front office. But that's the
conclusion they came to.
But that's a different conversation.
Right.
But if you're trying to start over with a clean slate with coaching, why promote internally? It's confusing to me. As you can clearly see, I mean, we're kind of rusty. It's our first show in 2 months, but I'm clearly struggling for words.
Right. How's it different?
I don't think there's not going to be any difference. There's nothing that has been signified to me that there is going to be any difference.
Right.
And I could be totally wrong.
Joe Brady could revolutionize the team.
Joe Brady could bring him to the next step. But Joe Brady hasn't done anything to show me that he can take that next step.
And you know what other hiring seems a lot like that to me is the Ravens, who did fire John Harbaugh, another huge surprising hire. But then they hired Jesse Minter. If you look back at his resume, you find out he spent the last 2 years under Harbaugh's own brother in LA. Previously, he was in Baltimore under John Harbaugh. So if you're trying to do the exact same thing, you're trying to wipe the slate clean and reach a Super Bowl with Lamar Jackson, then why are you just hiring one of John Harbaugh's proteges? It's just another confusing hire for me. Yeah, he might be a very talented coach, and I'm sure he is, a great defensive mind, but it's just confusing. Why are you trying to get something from the exact same source that you just got
it's similar-ish to just as a Panthers fan, from my perspective, is when we fired Matt Rule and hired Frank Reich, I was excited because it was a guy that had been with the franchise before. He's the franchise's first quarterback, and I really thought, man, he's gonna bring it back to we're gonna be back to when we were making back to 2000. He was with the 2003 team, but he was passionate about the Panthers. Mm-hmm. Going back to the upper echelon of the NFL.
And he even seemed like maybe a similar type of head coach to the discipline and traditional consistency that a Ron Rivera offered, and you got to a Super Bowl.
And then he was the first offensive head coach we hired, but he still had those aspects of John Fox and Ron Rivera.
Right.
And he got fired in the first season.
Right,
and
immediately.
He wasn't successful because he was bringing back the same problems that the Panthers have had for the entire existence of the franchise. I mean, a franchise has never had back-to-back winning seasons. And while I don't think Jesse Minter and Joe Brady will be as bad.
No, certainly.
And they could very well. I like Jesse Minter. I like Joe Brady. I think they could end up being very good head coaches. I think they could be very good head coaches into the future.
These fits are just confusing.
I think especially with Joe Brady, the fit right now for those current teams and those franchises
make a lot of sense.
And what they need doesn't make that much sense. And I think that's where my confusion is, that they're extremely talented coaches, and they could prove us wrong.
And they're still young.
And be great head coaches. And we could be watching a Ravens Bills AFC Championship game next season.
The talent on those teams is incredible.
But there's nothing to indicate to me
that they're meaningfully different.
That they will be that change at those franchises.
Right. And the next question, outside of the teams that really aren't changing from their previous coaches, Arizona and Las Vegas still don't have their coaches. And we were talking about how limited the experienced coaching market was this year. And who's left, right? I mean, you're just going to have to keep poaching, coordinators from around the league. For me, a name to look at, I don't know, there hasn't been, actual rumors of this, but for me, a name to look at is Brian Flores, especially in Arizona, because I believe Las Vegas is going to, it seems like they might have found Clint Kubiak already.
I think Clint Kubiak, I think they're both trying to get Seahawks offensive coordinator Clint Kubiak.
Son of the former head coach, Gary Kubiak. But I think for whichever team doesn't end up getting Clint Kubiak, I think a name to watch is Brian Flores. He's another rising star, had a really controversial tenure with the Dolphins, but he's been a fantastic DC in Minnesota, and I think he's been getting a lot of buzz for different head coaching roles this offseason.
Yeah, I mean, I think Brian Flores would be a good candidate. I know the Raiders were interviewing Panthers defensive coordinator Joe Evero. I don't think that was ever really a serious option for Las Vegas, and I'd be very surprised that's who they went with. But
it could be someone totally out of left field. Sure.
I think knowing the Raiders, it could be someone totally out of left field.
I mean, they just hired Pete Carroll last season out of retirement, and that didn't work out.
Mm-hmm.
But so it's going to be someone unexpected, most likely.
But moving on to coaches that we know are great.
Oh yeah.
Recently, big news kind of rocking, especially the pro football world, is that former Patriots head coach and current North Carolina head coach Bill Belichick was, in my opinion, snubbed from being a first ballot Hall of Famer.
I mean, many consider him the best coach of all time. You have to if you talk about NFL coaches, you have to throw Vince Lombardi in the mix. But, one of the two best NFL coaches of all time, pretty undisputedly, and he's not a first ballot Hall of Famer. And so this brings up questions like, what are we actually looking at? Are we looking at his character? Are we looking at his post NFL career? That none of that should matter.
No, this is the Pro Football Hall of Fame.
Right. Unless they have evidence that we never knew before about Patriots cheating scandals. Then
we've known about Spygate for the last 20
years.
And
nobody seemed to care about it.
And so like at this point he won so much, and the Patriots were such a big dynasty.
Right.
And there's no reason that he shouldn't if, in my opinion, if you're not gonna vote for someone in the first ballot, you shouldn't either they're a Hall of Famer or they're not a Hall of Famer. And so
the next ballots are only for people who got it wrong.
Yeah. So if you're not gonna vote in Bill Belichick this year to be a Hall of Famer, you shouldn't cast your vote for him at all, because I don't understand the politics behind Hall of Fame voting. You see this with baseball.
It doesn't make any sense.
You see this with baseball. Ichiro Suzuki and Derek Jeter not being unanimous Hall of Famers is beyond me.
Right.
If I ever had the privilege of being a baseball Hall of Fame voter, I will be if you're a Hall of Famer, you're getting voted into the Hall of Fame.
You don't need to wait.
You don't need to wait. There's no there's no need for the politics behind it.
Right.
With the NFL system, you're just pushing back. You're making people wait longer. If they're a Hall of Famer, vote them in.
Right. And with Bill Belichick, if you didn't vote for him this year, it's not just that you shouldn't vote for him again. You probably shouldn't vote for the Hall of Fame again. And we've heard talk about this. The Hall of Fame committee has been saying that they're going to look into their laws and investigate the different voters who might have not followed the laws. But there probably aren't really laws that prohibit somebody from voting no, because there shouldn't be, because it's an opinion thing. But if you're not putting Bill Belichick in the Hall of Fame, then who does get in? And what are the reasons for him not getting in? There's nothing egregious. He's not Karl Malone. There's nothing egregious you can say that, he's not Pete Rose. He's not Barry Bonds. There's nothing you can say he specifically shouldn't be in the Hall of Fame. Right. And so it's just absolutely confounding.
And I mean, I just think it's a shame to have people who want to politicize Hall of Fame voting, whether they have a grudge against Belichick, or they want to, maybe he called them out on a press conference,
right?
Or
to everybody, so,
or maybe the Patriots beat a team that so and so voter was covering, and they're holding a grudge against Belichick. And
I mean, you probably didn't like him. You probably didn't like Tom Brady, but they're the best.
But they're the best,
and that doesn't matter.
They're both first ballot.
It doesn't matter how much you like them because exactly.
It's just I'm clearly rusty and clearly at a loss for words.
Perplexed, honestly.
By the last couple of things that we've talked about, but it's Bill Belichick. There's no reason.
Who else?
There's no reason that Bill Belichick. You should say, this guy Bill Belichick.
He's a borderline.
He can wait a year. He can wait a year.
Right.
Maybe if you won another Super Bowl ring, he could be first ballot. Right. But he can wait a year.
I mean, you need 7, right? 7's a prerequisite.
Are we joking? If he's a Hall of Famer, make him a Hall of Famer. Right. I feel like you're doing the
institution of the NFL.
Doing the institution of the NFL wrong. You're doing institution of the Hall of Fame wrong.
Yep.
And it's a disservice to the fans. And everything that Bill Belichick has done. And I'm not saying I'm this big Bill Belichick guy.
He wears the UNC hoodie.
I'm wearing the UNC hoodie. But I'm not the biggest Bill Belichick fan. That doesn't mean
It
doesn't matter.
Yeah.
I can still recognize that he's awesome.
Right.
He's an awesome head coach.
Right.
I don't love Patrick Mahomes. He's an awesome quarterback. I don't like Mike Krzyzewski. He's an awesome head coach.
Of course.
And so I can understand that and realize that, while also still accepting that these are awesome coaches and awesome players and awesome executives that deserve to have their contributions to the sport to have them recognized.
Right. This is preparing me for what I can almost expect to happen now in 5 years when Aaron Rodgers is eligible for the Hall of Fame, because Aaron Rodgers is a 10 times more controversial figure than Bill Belichick. And I don't like Aaron Rodgers as a person, but I can acknowledge that, as a Packers fan, he's the greatest thing that ever happened to our franchise, and is probably the most talented player to ever pick up a football. And so he should be in the Hall of Fame. And he's not even anywhere close to Bill Belichick. He won 1/6 of the Super Bowls Bill Belichick did. So it's just absolutely confusing.
Beyond me.
But we should move on.
We should move on. We're running out of time. We got a lot still to talk about.
Yeah, let's quickly. We'll get to Alabama football in a moment. Quickly, let's look forward. We'll be brief with it. Quickly touch on the Super Bowl. So the Super Bowl coming up this Sunday, February the 8th. We have the Seahawks from the NFC taking on the Patriots of the NFC. The game is in Miami, if I'm not mistaken.
No, I believe it's in San Francisco.
It's San Francisco. That is correct.
Miami was a national championship game.
Yeah, right. It's in Santa Clara, to be fair.
Potato.
Right, exactly. But, impressive seasons from both teams. Seattle's been surprisingly dominant. I don't think anybody picked them to make a run all the way to the Super Bowl. But Mike McDonald's team, they've had absolutely incredible defense.
That defense,
ridiculous.
The whole defensive unit has just been spectacular. I think really look at the addition Nick Amonwori. Safety from Mississippi State.
Yeah.
But he's been playing a lot of nickel, and just his size and what he allows them to do by, the Seahawks play base defense the least amount out of any team in the NFL. And so what he allows them to do is he allows their defense to get creative with defending the pass, but also having strong run fits.
Right.
And it makes it really hard to throw against the defense and run against the defense.
That's the power of having this, versatile safety. We've seen so much more of that recently. Jeremy Chin played for the Panthers. A player like Xavier McKinney, even for the Packers. You have a safety who can.
You even look at
play deep. They can play linebacker, cover a receiver.
Like the college level, you look at former Alabama safety Caleb Downs when he was at Alabama here, or when he's been in Columbus the past few seasons at Ohio State. Some team's going to draft him to do that same role that he's. To play in that same role, and same thing that Bray Hubbard has been doing here at Alabama. Absolutely. He's been playing a lot of dime
that's been the newest
nickelback.
The newest, revolution in defensive football is that super versatile safety player who can play safety, linebacker, cover corner, do anything on the defense, right? And it's become so important to have these uber incredible special athletes, and Derwin James, you can say Budda Baker, all these top safeties have done something like this throughout their careers.
And you go back to Troy Polamalu is kind of an early archetype of this kind of player. But also you can't talk about the Seahawks without talking about their offense. And the problem with the offense before going into the strong suit is that Sam Darnold is very prone to turning over the football. Right. And that's been the theme of his career, since he was selected by the Jets in the first round.
Seeing ghosts and et cetera.
But when when Sam Darnold is playing with confidence and is playing fast and isn't turning over the ball, he's the top 10. He's a arguably top 7 quarterback in the league.
We've seen a second consecutive career renaissance for Sam Darnold. It's the second year in a row. Last year with the Vikings, they won 13 games. Made it to the playoffs, won the NFC North. This year, he's been fantastic. He threw for almost 350 yards, 3 touchdowns in their NFC Championship win over their rivals, the Rams. He's just been fantastic. It's so unexpected. If you look at the start of Sam Darnold's career with the Jets, he was floundering. He was on this, really rough franchise, couldn't win a game. And now he's, starting quarterback for a team that might be favored in the Super Bowl.
Well, I think they're like 3.5 point favorites.
Exactly. Just speaks to the Jets curse, but also speaks to how special of a talent Sam Darnold is, and that's been uncovered in these past couple of years.
And I just think even when he is turning the football over, the Seattle defense and the running game is strong enough to kind of carry that load. And you have Kenneth Walker.
They lost Zach Charbonnet,
but when you have Zach Charbonnet healthy,
1-2 punch,
and with the 1-2 punch with Kenneth Walker, it's a really strong run game. They really improved the offensive line since last year. They through the draft and free agency last year, they brought in a couple new guys.
They even have great.
They've improved a ton.
They even have great special teams play.
I mean, Rashid Shaheed is awesome, deep threat. The speed
former Saint
is. He checks into the game. You kind of have to have the too high look because he can run right past you.
And then if you're playing too high, that opens the field for Kenneth Walker, the third. Just be the powerful bruising runner.
Or even Jackson Smith and Jigba.
Right. Underneath.
Maybe he's not as good as Puka Nacua, but he was going. Right. He was going.
He's nearly setting records.
He was going
in his second season.
He was going play for play with Puka Nacua in the NFC Championship game,
and they won.
The Rams, on the other hand, just good, really good team, excellent offense.
Fantastic team. Yeah.
Just maybe the defense wasn't as elite. They were banged up a little bit. Defense wasn't as elite as maybe the Seahawks were. I think the offenses. I'd give advantage to the Rams. Matt Stafford is playing maybe at the highest clip of his career. He's playing awesome football at the very tail end of his career. And Blake Coleman, Kyle Williams, a decent 1-2 punch, but really the bread and butter of this offense is Puka Nacua, Devontae Adams.
Right.
And there's not many defenses in the league that can cover both those teams.
Matthew
and they
Stafford,
just ran into the Seahawks, or one of those teams that can.
They're one of the only teams. Yeah.
But Puka Nacua had 9 catches, 165 yards, and a touchdown. Devontae Adams had 4 catches, 89 yards, and a touchdown.
Looking at Matthew Stafford, he's in his upper 30s, knock on wood, of course. But it seems like this is the perfect time for him to start a career regression. We haven't seen it yet. He's still playing at almost an MVP level.
He could be the MVP.
He could be the MVP. He may well be the MVP. And he's in his upper 30s still, playing this fantastic way. It's hard to expect he'll be able to continue this for much longer, but it's been really impressive to watch, this special career.
And then on the AFC side, that was just gross football game
in the snow.
Cold winter weather all over the country, and really hit Denver bad.
Yep.
Final score 10-7 advantage of the Patriots. Just
messy.
Just a messy game. Really
just how Mike Vrabel likes it.
Just not a great football game to be point blank, but Patriots get it done.
Against Jarrett Stidham
in Denver. I think maybe without all the winter conditions, I think the Broncos may end up winning the game. But you got to play with the game. Both teams are playing with the winter conditions, and so the Patriots did just enough. And it really goes back to Denver not kicking that field goal in the first half
with Will Lutz.
With good conditions. You got to take the points in the first half. Absolutely. You take it, it's a 10-10 ball game.
Right.
But I think
points are at such a premium in a game like
that. Just a tough break with Bo Nix breaking his ankle in the divisional round, and
you couldn't ask for a whole lot more from Denver.
No,
holding New England to 10
tough
points.
Situation, but they'll get Bo Nix healthy next year. They have a really good defense, solid offense. They'll run it back, and they'll be one of the top teams in the AFC again next year.
Right. And lastly, we'll check out the Super Bowl. We'll look at Alabama football in our next episode. We don't really have time today. But looking forward to the Super Bowl in California, you have the Patriots and the Seahawks. What do you see as a key matchup, a key important piece of this game, Simon?
I really think it's going to be about the Patriots defense making Sam Darnold uncomfortable. And I kind of touched on it earlier. If you can get Sam Darnold, quote unquote, seeing ghosts,
right?
He's not as effective as any quarterback would be, but he's more prone to turning over the football than a big chunk of the upper echelon of quarterbacks in the league.
Right.
And I think if you can get him uncomfortable, force a couple of turnovers, can really make things easier for a young quarterback in Drake May. And maybe a Super Bowl team that, has had not the toughest schedule, maybe a schedule very much so more on the easy side.
Right, a fourth place schedule.
If we been playing a fourth place schedule, but I think it's really about the Patriots making Sam Darnold uncomfortable. But if they can't force turnovers, if they can't get Sam Darnold off his game, and then it'll really just be it'll just be a shootout between Drake May and Sam Darnold, and I think that's advantage Seahawks.
May. Oh well. Ooh. If you're just going pure quarterback for quarterback this year, I think it's advantage May.
Oh well, I think it's like the offense, the offensive units as a advantage as a whole. I would go with Puka Nacua,
of course.
Well, Puka Nacua, excuse me,
JSN,
and that it's a very strong Seahawks strength offense.
And of course, Sam Darnold's iconic that we've mentioned a couple times, seeing ghost moment, that was against the Patriots when he was in one of his first couple seasons with the Jets. So that's even more poetic if he's able to defeat those ghosts against the Patriots this time.
And but also really just for the Seahawks, I think it's about them making Drake May uncomfortable. Young quarterback, Seahawks one of the best defenses in the league.
He's just been money all year.
If they can make Drake May uncomfortable, and he's an extremely young quarterback, talented quarterback, extremely young quarterback, that hasn't really he didn't really play in any situations like this at UNC, and so if you can get him off his game as well, then that really benefits the Seahawks. But so I really think this game will come down to which quarterback is under the most duress and is making the most mistakes.
And that's one of the key benefits of Drake May this season is, even though he is a young player, he's had such poise. He's been able to stay in the moment. He hasn't gotten, the lights haven't been too bright for him, and he's been able to continue to deliver throughout these big games of the regular season and into the playoffs. But the question is, can he keep that going in the Super Bowl, the big game, the first time in his career? I'm sure we'll have both of these quarterbacks may have another chance later in their career, but you don't want to let something like this pass you by.
Mm-mm. I mean, you see this with, so many quarterbacks. You see this with, Cam Newton and potentially, very likely Jared Goff. Is that maybe even Brock Purdy's that you only get one or two shots of this thing. The Tom Brady and the Patrick Mahomes and the Peyton Manning is like those are the exceptions.
Right.
You don't get that many shots.
You can be a greatest of all time and win one Super Bowl like Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, okay. One of the greatest of all time.
Yeah. I would say
okay.
A greatest.
But
you'd be a great.
Yeah. Okay. Just a little confusion. It's all good.
Yeah.
Clearly you can see that we haven't done a show in 2 months.
We're getting back into the swing of things. That's what the show's
for. We'll get back into the swing of things. But Sam Darnold, Drake May, this could be their only shot.
Absolutely.
You saw it with Cam Newton. With the Panthers, my Panthers, Right. But 10 years ago.
Right.
But I think this will be a really good game. I'm excited. It should be better than last year's game, which is a blowout.
2 top offenses, 1 top defense, 1 defense that has performed well, beating expectations, I think, of the Patriots.
But the Patriots have a really strong defensive pieces.
Exactly.
But we're going to wrap up today. We're running out of time. Thank you so much for joining us on episode 7 of SportSpace this school year. We're excited to be back this semester, and we'll be pushing out a lot of content this semester.
Thanks so much. We'll catch you next time.